Chosen one. Something in the unseen just paused long enough to reach you, and that pause is not accidental. There are moments when heaven allows the noise of the world to continue, and then there are moments when God quietly interrupts a life because something too important is unfolding to be ignored. This is one of those moments. Chosen one. You did not arrive here randomly. Out of all the distractions competing for your attention today, something in your spirit slowed down long enough to listen. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. Because when God prepares a moment, He also prepares the heart that will recognize it. The stillness you have been feeling lately is not emptiness. It is preparation. The distance you may have sensed from certain voices, certain environments, even certain people is not rejection. It is protection. Sometimes God draws a soul into quiet places because transformation cannot survive the noise of too many opinions. Scripture reminds us in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 that there is a time for every purpose under heaven. And right now, chosen one, you are standing in a moment that was quietly arranged long before you pressed play. If messages like this continue to find you, consider subscribing so you never miss the moments heaven intends for you. Because what you are about to understand may explain why God asked you to watch this alone. Chosen one. There is a reason heaven asked you to receive this message in quiet. Not because the words are fragile, but because the moment itself is precise. Some things God reveals cannot pass through the noise of many voices. When too many opinions surround a moment like this, the clarity begins to fade. And what heaven wants to say to you right now was not designed to be filtered through anyone else's understanding. You may have noticed something shifting in your life recently. It did not happen loudly. It happened quietly, almost subtly. A strange sense of distance began growing inside you. You could be standing among people you have known for years, yet something in your spirit felt like it stepped slightly outside the room. Conversations continued, laughter filled the air, but inside your heart something remained, still observant, almost detached. At first, you may have wondered what was wrong. You may have asked yourself whether you were withdrawing too much or becoming overly sensitive. Some moments may have even made you question your own reactions. Why did certain conversations suddenly feel heavy? Why did certain environments that once felt normal now leave you drained? Chosen. One, the answer is not isolation. The answer is protection. God has been quietly creating space around you. When heaven prepares someone for a new level of clarity, the first thing that often changes is their sensitivity. Your spirit begins noticing things it once overlooked. You begin feeling the emotional weight behind words, not just the words themselves. Situations that once felt harmless now reveal deeper layers you did not see before. And this awakening can feel confusing because on the surface, nothing dramatic has changed. People are still the same. The environment still looks familiar. But your spirit has begun seeing differently. You may have noticed moments recently when someone said something that seemed small on the surface, yet it lingered in your heart longer than expected. A comment that sounded friendly but carried an uncomfortable edge. A question that felt less like curiosity and more like pressure. Nothing obvious enough to confront, but enough for your spirit to pause. And the strange part was that you could not easily explain why it bothered you. Your mind tried to dismiss it. You told yourself you might be overthinking. But your spirit continued noticing the pattern. Small tests, subtle pressure. Conversations that felt normal to everyone else, but left your inner peace slightly disturbed afterward. Chosen one, heaven noticed those moments too. Not every challenge appears as open opposition. Some pressures arrive quietly. Some tests come through simple conversations meant to see how you will respond. Will you react emotionally? Will you begin explaining yourself? Will you reveal things about your life that are not yet meant to be shared? And that is where many people lose their alignment. They begin speaking too early. They begin defending themselves in situations where silence would have protected them. They begin explaining spiritual changes to people who are not meant to understand the process yet. But heaven intervened in your situation. God began creating distance, not to punish you with loneliness, but to protect what is being formed inside you right now. Because what God is shaping within you cannot develop properly while you are constantly reacting to the expectations of others. This is a season of formation. Your awareness is sharpening. Your boundaries are strengthening. Your spirit is learning how to recognize what belongs in your life and what does not. And that process requires quiet. It requires moments where you're not constantly explaining yourself. It requires space where your spirit can grow without being interrupted by every opinion around you. Chosen one. What you are experiencing right now is not the loss of connection. It is the beginning of discernment, and discernment often begins with a simple realization. Not every environment deserves your energy. You are learning something powerful in this season. You are learning that peace is sometimes protected through silence. You are learning that not every misunderstanding requires an explanation. You are learning that some battles are won simply by remaining aligned with God instead of reacting to every situation around you. And this quiet season you are in right now may feel unfamiliar, but it carries a purpose. Because while it may look like nothing is happening on the surface, heaven is doing something important beneath it. Something is forming. Something that must grow inside you before it becomes visible around you. And in the next part of this message, Chosen One, you are going to understand why the silence around your life right now is not weakness, but a strategy heaven is using to protect what is about to unfold. Chosen One. There is something important you must understand about the silence you've been living in lately. It is not emptiness. It is not abandonment. It is strategy. Sometimes heaven protects a person's next season by reducing the noise around them. What feels like distance is often the quiet hand of God guiding you away from situations that could interfere with what He is preparing. If you look back honestly, you will realize this quiet did not appear suddenly. Before the distance came, there were small moments that made your spirit pause. Conversations that left you slightly uneasy. Situations where you felt pressure to explain yourself, even though something inside you said it was not the right time. Questions that sounded simple, but carried a strange weight you could not easily explain. Nothing aggressive, nothing dramatic, yet something inside you noticed. Chosen One. That feeling was not confusion. It was discernment beginning to awaken. When God begins elevating someone spiritually, one of the first things He sharpens is their awareness. You begin sensing the emotional atmosphere in situations that once felt normal. Words that used to pass by unnoticed suddenly feel heavier. Interactions that seem harmless to others leave your spirit feeling tired. You may have walked away from moments like that wondering why something so small affected you so deeply. But the truth is, your spirit was detecting what your mind could not yet explain. Not every test arrives loudly. Some come through subtle pressure. A person casually bringing up something sensitive just to see how you respond. Someone asking questions that quietly pull at areas of your life you were not meant to reveal yet. Comments that appear harmless on the surface but touch places God has been healing within you. And if you had reacted quickly in those moments, if you had rushed to defend yourself or explain everything, it might have opened doors that were never meant to remain open. That is why God slowed things down around you. Chosen one. Heaven removed the audience for a reason. Not everyone who had access to your last season is meant to have access to the next one. Some people were meant to walk with you during earlier chapters of your life when you were still learning and growing in certain ways. But the version of you God is shaping now carries a different level of awareness, and not every relationship is prepared for that change. When this shift begins, something noticeable happens. Your tolerance for certain environments begins to fade. Conversations that once felt normal start feeling draining. Situations that once entertained you begin to feel heavy. At first you may question yourself. You may wonder if you are becoming too sensitive or distant. But chosen one, what you are actually experiencing is growth. Your spirit is learning to recognize what protects your peace and what quietly disturbs it. That is why silence has become so important in your life right now, because discernment grows strongest when you allow yourself to observe without reacting immediately. Silence creates space for clarity. When you stop responding to everything instantly, patterns begin to appear that you could not see before. You begin recognizing who respects your peace and who becomes uncomfortable when you no longer react the way you once did. And that discomfort reveals something important. It shows which relationships are rooted in genuine connection and which ones depended on you remaining the same. So if God is asking you to stay quiet a little longer, trust that there is wisdom in it. Because when you remain still in moments that once would have triggered you, truth begins revealing itself naturally. Chosen one. Your silence is not weakness. It is discipline. It is trust. And in ways you may not yet see, that restraint is positioning you for something greater ahead. Chosen one. There is another layer to what you have been experiencing, and many people do not recognize it while they are living through it. Whenever God begins repositioning someone for a new season, resistance often appears before the breakthrough does. Not always in dramatic ways, but through subtle moments designed to pull you out of alignment before the preparation is complete. If you look closely, you may notice that certain situations appeared at very specific moments. Conversations that tempted you to defend yourself. Comments that quietly pushed you to explain things you were not ready to reveal. Small misunderstandings that created the urge to correct people immediately. Each time something like that happened, there was a tension inside you. One part of you wanted to respond right away to clear the air so that everything would make sense again. But another part of you, quieter and deeper, kept saying, "Wait." Chosen one, that quiet voice was not hesitation. It was guidance. Because the truth is, not every misunderstanding must be corrected immediately. Not every situation requires your defense. Sometimes the protection God gives you comes through the ability to remain still while everything around you is trying to provoke a reaction. And there is a reason for that. When people react too quickly, they often speak from emotion instead of clarity. They reveal more than they intended. They step into conversations that drain their energy and distract them from what truly matters. And opposition understands this pattern very well. What God has prepared for you cannot be cancelled. What heaven has written over your life cannot simply be erased. But there is one strategy that resistance often tries to use: delay. And delay often begins with distraction. Chosen one. If you are constantly explaining yourself, constantly defending every decision, constantly reacting to every comment or opinion, your energy becomes scattered. Your focus shifts away from what God is building inside you and toward what others are saying around you. That is why this quiet season matters so much. Your silence is protecting your focus. Every moment you choose not to react immediately strengthens your inner stability. Every time you resist the urge to defend yourself unnecessarily, you protect the peace that God has been building within you. And over time, that steadiness becomes strength. There is a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is emotional and immediate. It often comes from the need to prove something or protect your image. But response comes from clarity. It comes from patience. It comes from knowing that your identity does not depend on every person understanding you perfectly. Chosen one. God is teaching you how to respond instead of react. This lesson is not always easy because your heart naturally wants harmony with people. When someone misunderstands you, the instinct is to explain yourself quickly so the tension disappears. But there are moments when silence accomplishes more than explanation ever could. When you remain calm while others expect you to react, the situation slowly reveals itself. Over time, people show their intentions without you needing to force the truth out of them. This is why Scripture speaks about stillness. In Psalms chapter 46 verse 10, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness is not weakness, it is trust. Chosen one. The silence you have practiced is a form of that trust. It is the decision to believe that God sees what you see and understands what you feel, even when you choose not to respond immediately. And every day you remain aligned instead of reactive. You strengthen the foundation God is building within you. Your discernment becomes sharper. Your peace becomes steadier. Your spirit becomes less dependent on other people's approval. All of this is preparation. Preparation for the clarity that is coming. Preparation for the doors that will open. And preparation for the moment when you will realize that the quiet season you once questioned was actually positioning you perfectly for what comes next. Chosen one. As this quiet season continues, something else begins to unfold that many people overlook while they are in the middle of it. Silence does not only protect you from reacting too soon, it also reveals the truth about the people around you. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop rushing to fix every misunderstanding, when you stop responding to every emotional pull, something very interesting happens. The people around you begin to reveal who they truly are. Some individuals will respect your quiet. They will give you space without demanding answers. They will sense that you are going through something deeper, and they will allow the process to unfold without pressure. These people carry patience in their spirit. They understand that not every transformation needs to be explained immediately. Their presence will feel calm, steady, supportive. But others will react differently. On chosen one. When someone is used to having constant access to your attention, your silence can make them uncomfortable. When someone is used to you explaining every change in your life, your quiet can feel unfamiliar to them, and that discomfort sometimes causes people to push harder. They may ask more questions. They may make subtle remarks about how you have changed. They may try to pull you back into old conversations or old dynamics that no longer align with where God is leading you. And in those moments, it becomes very clear who respects your growth and who struggles with it. That revelation is one of the hidden purposes of this season. Because not everyone who walked with you in the past is meant to walk with you into the next chapter of your life. Some relationships were connected to earlier stages of your journey. They served their purpose. They helped you grow, learn, and understand yourself. But when God begins shaping a new version of you, the environment around you naturally begins to shift. Chosen one. Growth always rearranges the room. Some people will celebrate the change they see in you. They will recognize the peace that has been growing in your spirit. They will notice the clarity in your words, the calmness in your decisions, the strength in your boundaries. And instead of resisting that change, they will be drawn toward it. Those are the people who belong in your next season. But there will also be people who struggle with the new version of you. Not necessarily because they dislike you, but because your growth disrupts the dynamic they were used to. When someone is comfortable with who you used to be, the person you are becoming can feel unfamiliar to them. They may try to remind you of the old version of yourself. They may say things like, "You're different now," or question why you no longer react the way you used to. Sometimes they may even interpret your peace as distance or pride, simply because they do not understand the process God has been guiding you through. Chosen one, do not let that confuse you. Change is not betrayal. Growth is not rejection. When God transforms someone, the shift is meant to be visible. Your reactions change. Your priorities change. The way you handle conflict changes. And while some people will celebrate that transformation, others may feel unsettled by it. But that discomfort does not mean you are moving in the wrong direction. It simply means the environment is adjusting to the new version of you. This is why God asked you to stay quiet for a season. Because if you had explained every internal shift while it was happening, if you had tried to justify every new boundary you were forming, you might have opened the door for opinions that would have slowed your growth. Sometimes transformation must happen privately before it becomes visible publicly. Chosen one. The silence you have been walking through has allowed your spirit to mature without interference. It has given you the space to listen more closely to God's guidance. It has strengthened your ability to remain peaceful even when situations around you feel uncertain. And now slowly, clarity is beginning to appear. You are starting to recognize which voices bring peace into your life and which ones create tension. You are noticing which relationships encourage your growth and which ones quietly resist it. You are becoming more aware of where your energy feels respected and where it feels drained. That awareness is a gift, because once you see these patterns clearly, you gain the freedom to choose where your energy belongs. You no longer feel obligated to maintain every connection the same way you did before. Instead, you begin investing your time and attention where it aligns with the direction God is leading you. Chosen one. This process may feel uncomfortable at times, but it carries a powerful purpose. It is clearing the path ahead of you. It is separating what belongs in your future from what was only meant to accompany you temporarily. And the more you trust the quiet guidance God has been giving you, the clearer that path will become. Because what heaven is preparing for you next requires relationships that support your peace, not ones that constantly test it. And in the next part of this message, Chosen One, you'll begin to understand something even deeper about this season, why the heaviness you have felt in your body and emotions is not a sign of weakness, but a signal that a spiritual shift has been taking place within you. Chosen One. There is another part of this season you may not have spoken about to anyone, yet it has quietly been part of your daily life. The shift you have been experiencing has not only affected your thoughts or your relationships, it has also touched your body and your emotions. You may have noticed that you feel more tired than usual, but not the kind of tired that disappears after a good night of sleep. It is a deeper kind of fatigue, the kind that settles in your body and makes even simple things feel heavier than they once did. There have been days when you woke up already feeling drained, days when your energy felt low, even though nothing physically demanding happened. Perhaps there were moments when you stepped away from conversations or cancelled plans simply because your spirit needed quiet. and you may have wondered if something was wrong with you. But chosen one, what you have been feeling is not weakness. Often when God begins reshaping someone's inner life, the Spirit works intensely beneath the surface. Old patterns are being released. New awareness is being formed. Emotional reactions that once controlled you are slowly being replaced with peace and clarity. And while that transformation is happening internally, your body can feel the weight of the process. That is why rest has become so important for you in this season. Your spirit has been processing more than you can see. It has been releasing attachments, healing wounds, and preparing your heart for the direction God is leading you toward. When something that deep is unfolding, stillness becomes necessary. You may have also noticed emotional waves appearing unexpectedly. Moments when you felt peaceful and then suddenly a memory surfaced or sadness appeared without a clear reason. Those emotions are not signs that you are falling apart. They are signs that something inside you is being released. Old versions of yourself are quietly being laid down so that a new version can rise. Growth often feels uncomfortable while it is happening. Sometimes it feels like something is ending before you can clearly see what is beginning. But chosen one, that ending is not loss, it is renewal. You're not losing who you are. You're discovering who God has been shaping you to become. You may have also experienced small signs along the way, a song playing at the exact moment you needed encouragement. A sentence in a conversation suddenly speaking directly to something you had been praying about. Even a passage of scripture appearing at the right time, bringing clarity when your heart needed it most. These moments are not random. They are quiet confirmations, gentle reminders that heaven has been walking with you through this entire process. Chosen one, God sees the quiet battles you have been facing. He sees the moments when you chose peace instead of reaction. He sees the patience you practiced when the path ahead felt unclear. And because of that obedience, this season is preparing something ahead of you. Because seasons like this are never permanent. They prepare the ground for what comes next. And soon, chosen one, the quiet season will begin to lift, and the doors that have been waiting for you will start to open. Oh, chosen one. Every quiet season eventually reaches a moment where the stillness begins to change. It does not happen suddenly with loud announcements or dramatic signs. Most of the time it begins quietly, almost like the first light of dawn appearing after a long night. At first you simply sense that something inside you feels different. The heaviness begins to lift. The confusion that once filled your mind starts to fade. And before anything changes around you, a calm clarity begins to settle within your spirit. That inner clarity is one of the first signals that preparation is nearing completion. When God finishes forming something within a person, the evidence often appears internally before it appears externally. You begin to feel more settled in your decisions. Questions that once circled endlessly in your thoughts no longer carry the same weight. Situations that once confused you suddenly make sense without needing long explanations. Chosen one. You may notice that the things which once made you anxious no longer have the same power over your peace. Conversations that once pulled you into emotional reactions no longer shake you the way they did before. Instead of feeling pressured to prove yourself or explain every decision, you begin to feel comfortable simply standing in quiet confidence. That shift is not accidental. It is the result of the work God has been doing within you during this season of silence. While you were learning patience, heaven was strengthening your spirit. While you were practicing restraint, God was building a deeper foundation of peace inside you. What once felt like waiting was actually preparation. And when preparation reaches its final stage, movement begins. Opportunities that once seemed distant may suddenly appear closer than you expected. Conversations begin opening doors you did not anticipate. People who once overlooked your presence may start noticing something different about you. The calmness you carry, the clarity in your words, the steadiness in your decisions. Chosen one. What looks sudden to others is often the result of a long hidden process. While others were living normally, God was shaping your character in quiet places. While situations around you seemed slow or uncertain, heaven was aligning timing and circumstances. And when the right moment arrives, those two things meet. Your obedience and God's timing. That is when momentum begins to move. But the most important change will not simply be the opportunities that appear around you. The greatest change will be the person you have become through this season. You will notice that you respond differently to situations that once disturbed you. Your peace will no longer depend on everyone understanding you. Your confidence will no longer depend on constant validation. Chosen one. You entered this season learning how to be still. You are leaving it stronger than you realize. Your discernment has grown sharper. Your spirit has become calmer. Your understanding of who you are and where you are going has become clearer. These qualities will travel with you into every door that begins to open ahead. And as that movement begins, remember something important. You do not have to force what God has already prepared. What is meant for you will recognize you when the time is right. Because this season of silence was never meant to hide you forever. It was meant to prepare you for the moment when what God placed inside you is ready to be revealed. On Chosen One. When the quiet season begins to lift, something else becomes clear that many people only recognize afterward. The transformation that happened inside you starts becoming visible to others. It is not always through what you say, but through how you carry yourself. Your reactions change. Your patience deepens. Situations that once disturbed your peace no longer pull you in the same way. People notice these things, even when you do not mention them. Some will sense a calm strength around you that was not there before. They may not understand exactly what changed, but they will recognize that your presence feels different. Your words carry more weight because they are no longer rushed or defensive. Your decisions appear more steady because they are not driven by pressure. Chosen one. This is what happens when someone grows through a season of silence. They begin to move with quiet confidence. They no longer feel the need to prove themselves in every conversation. They no longer feel responsible for correcting every misunderstanding. Instead, they learn something deeper. Peace is often stronger than explanation. And when that peace becomes part of you, it changes the way people respond to your presence. Some individuals will be drawn toward that strength. They will respect the boundaries you have formed. They will appreciate the calm clarity you carry. These are the people who recognize growth when they see it. They will not feel threatened by your change. Instead, they will celebrate it. Those relationships will feel natural. Conversations with them will not drain your energy. Their presence will feel supportive, steady, and aligned with the direction God is leading you. But not everyone will respond that way. Chosen one. Some people will feel uncomfortable around the new version of you. They may say you have changed. They may question why you are quieter or more selective with your energy. Sometimes they may even try to pull you back into the old patterns they were familiar with. This is not unusual. Growth often reveals who is prepared to walk with you into the next season and who was only meant to walk with you through the last one. When someone expects you to remain the same, your transformation can feel unfamiliar to them. They may interpret your boundaries as distance. They may misunderstand your calmness as indifference. but their confusion does not mean you are moving in the wrong direction. Chosen. One change is not betrayal. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to respond differently to situations that once controlled your emotions. You are allowed to choose peace over constant explanation. And that is exactly what this season has been teaching you. Because if you had continued reacting the way you once did, if you had spent all your energy defending yourself or explaining every shift in your life, you might have slowed the transformation God was guiding you through. But the silence protected you. It allowed your spirit to mature without constant interruption. It gave you space to understand yourself more clearly. It helped you recognize which voices in your life bring peace and which ones quietly disturb it. That clarity is one of the greatest gifts of this season, because once you see those patterns clearly, you begin investing your energy differently. You begin choosing environments that support your peace rather than challenge it constantly. You begin building connections with people who respect your growth rather than question it. And that shift quietly prepares the foundation for everything that comes next. Because the season ahead of you will require relationships that strengthen your spirit, not ones that pull you back into old patterns. Chosen one. God has been arranging those connections carefully, and in the final part of this message, you will understand why this entire season of silence was part of a much larger preparation for the moment that is now approaching in your life. Chosen one. When you finally look back at this season, you will realize something that may be difficult to see while you are still inside it. What felt like isolation was never meant to hold you back. It was meant to prepare you. God was not removing you from situations to punish you with silence. He was giving you the space needed to become the person capable of carrying what is coming next. Many people want the open doors, the recognition, the opportunities, but they rarely understand the preparation that must happen beforehand. Strength must grow quietly before it is ever seen publicly. Discernment must develop privately before it guides you through important decisions. And peace must be built deeply inside you before it can remain steady when pressure arrives. Chosen one, that is what this season has been accomplishing in your life. While everything around you felt quiet, heaven was shaping something powerful within you. You were learning how to remain calm when situations tried to provoke you. You were learning how to trust God's timing instead of forcing your own. You were learning how to protect your peace without feeling guilty for stepping away from what no longer aligned with your spirit. Those lessons are not small. They are the foundation for the next chapter of your life. Because the opportunities ahead of you will require clarity. They will require emotional strength. They will require the ability to stay grounded, even when others around you feel uncertain or reactive. And the calm wisdom you developed during this quiet season is exactly what will allow you to move through those moments with confidence. Chosen one. There will come a time very soon when you realize how perfectly timed this preparation was. Situations will appear that once might have overwhelmed you, yet now you will handle them with calm understanding. Conversations that once would have pulled you into reaction will no longer disturb your spirit. Decisions that once felt complicated will now feel simple because your discernment has grown stronger. And when those moments arrive, you will see clearly that nothing in this season was wasted. Every moment of silence strengthened your patience. Every moment of restraint strengthened your character. Every moment when you chose peace instead of reaction strengthened your spirit. That is why God asked you to trust this process, even when it felt uncertain. Because what is being prepared for you cannot be carried by the version of you that existed before this season. It requires the clarity, maturity, and peace that have been forming inside you during this quiet time. Chosen one. You are not stepping into the future, the same person you were before this began. You are stepping forward stronger, calmer, and more aware of the direction God is guiding you toward. And that transformation is something no one can take away from you. So if this message reached you at the right moment, take it as a reminder that the quiet seasons of life are never empty. They are often the places where the most important preparation happens. Trust what God has been doing in your life, even when the process feels slow. Because the moment you are stepping into next was prepared long before you ever recognized it. And when the right door opens, you will understand why this season had to unfold exactly the way it did. Oh, chosen one. If this message found you today, it was not by accident. Heaven has a way of arranging moments that seem ordinary on the surface, but carry divine precision underneath. The quiet season you have been walking through was never a mistake. It was preparation. While you thought you were simply waiting, God was shaping your spirit, strengthening your discernment, and protecting the path ahead of you. Anointed one, you are standing in a moment that heaven already recognized long before you did. The clarity, you are gaining the peace that is growing inside you, and the distance that formed around certain situations were all part of God guiding you into alignment with what comes next. Trust this process. What is unfolding in your life is not random, it is purposeful. May God continue to guard your peace, sharpen your discernment, and open the doors that were prepared for you at the right time. Walk forward with faith, knowing that the season ahead carries opportunities, clarity, and favor that your spirit has been prepared to receive. If this message spoke to your spirit, write Amen in the comments as a quiet declaration of agreement with what God is doing in your life. And if you feel led, subscribe so you do not miss the messages meant for your journey. Until the next moment heaven brings us together, remain watchful, remain faithful, and remain aligned with the path God is unfolding before you. End